Bio-integrated buildings, when architecture becomes a living organism. For decades, green architecture has focused on reducing harm, lowering energy use, cutting carbon, and conserving water. We've made progress: better insulation, solar panels, rainwater harvesting, and low-impact materials. But these buildings still depend on linear systems. They consume, they waste, they separate us from natural cycles. But what if buildings weren't just sustainable? What if they were alive? Imagine structures that photosynthesize, metabolize waste, purify water, and breathe clean air. Buildings that behave like organisms, self-regulating, adaptive, and part of a living system. This is the emerging frontier of bio-integrated architecture, a movement to embed living systems directly into the fabric of our built environment. At its core, biointegration rejects the idea of architecture as inert. Instead, it views buildings as active agents within their ecosystems. This shift requires more than green materials or eco-friendly checklists. It means designing structures with biological intelligence, where algae, microbes, roots, and bacteria become essential infrastructure. For centuries, the skin of our buildings has been a passive barrier, a dead surface designed simply to keep the weather out. But what if it could be more? What if it could be alive? Take the facade, for example. This is where one of the most visible and transformative shifts in architecture is taking place. Rather than dead surfaces, we now see the emergence of biofacades, living skins that perform real, tangible functions. This isn't just about adding a few plants for decoration. It's a fundamental reimagining of what a building can be. Not a static object, but a dynamic, metabolic system that actively engages with its environment. It's a move from inert materials to integrated biology, turning our buildings into living, breathing partners in the urban ecosystem. This revolution is driven by a simple yet profound idea: that our built environment should function less like a machine and more like a forest, a coral reef, or any other complex, self-sustaining natural system. One of the most technologically advanced forms of this living architecture is the photobioreactor, or PBR, facade. Imagine replacing inert glass or concrete with a network of transparent panels, each one a self-contained, highly controlled environment. Inside these panels, a solution of water and nutrients circulates, teeming with billions of microscopic algae. These are not just any algae. They are specific strains, carefully selected for their rapid growth and high efficiency in photosynthesis. As sunlight bathes the facade, these microalgae get to work, absorbing vast quantities of carbon dioxide from the surrounding urban air, far more effectively than most terrestrial plants. In return, they release pure oxygen, but their work doesn't stop there. The constant growth of the algae produces a dense, energy-rich biomass. Periodically, this biomass is harvested through an automated process. It's then dewatered and can be converted through anaerobic digestion into biogas, a renewable fuel that can power the building's heating and electricity systems. The facade literally becomes a solar-powered engine, generating energy while cleaning the air. Beyond energy production, these algae panels are masters of thermal regulation. The water-filled panels absorb solar radiation, preventing the intense heat of the sun from penetrating the building. This significantly reduces the need for air conditioning, a major drain on urban power grids. The density of the algae culture can even be adjusted in real time, becoming darker and more opaque during the hottest parts of the day to provide natural shading, and more transparent in the winter to allow passive solar heating. It's a smart, responsive system that adapts to the seasons and the time of day, all powered by nature. Other facades go edible, transforming vertical surfaces into productive landscapes. These are not your grandmother's window boxes. They are sophisticated, modular vertical farms integrated directly into the building structure. Using hydroponic or aeroponic systems, these walls can grow an astonishing variety of herbs, leafy greens, and even fruits like strawberries and tomatoes. By delivering water and a precise blend of nutrients directly to the plant roots, these systems use up to 90% less water than traditional agriculture, with zero soil erosion or fertilizer runoff. For the building's inhabitants, this means access to ultra-local, hyper-fresh produce, harvested just steps from their kitchens. It reestablishes a connection to our food sources that has been lost in modern city life. But the benefits extend far beyond the plate. These living walls are powerful environmental regulators. The dense foliage acts as a natural air filter, capturing particulate matter and absorbing pollutants like nitrogen oxides and volatile organic compounds. The process of evapotranspiration, where plants release water vapor, has a significant cooling effect on the building's surface and the surrounding microclimate, helping to combat the urban heat island effect. They also manage stormwater brilliantly. Instead of rain sheeting off a hard surface and overwhelming city sewers, it's captured by the vertical garden, nourishing the plants and slowly releasing, filtering it in the process. This turns a potential liability, stormwater runoff, into a valuable resource. This metabolic approach extends deep inside the building, particularly to how it handles water. In a conventional building, every flush of a toilet or drain of a sink sends water on a one-way trip to a municipal treatment plant, a costly and energy-intensive process. Bio-integrated design challenges this linear model, creating a closed-loop water system. The key technology here is the living machine. It's essentially a miniaturized, engineered version of a natural wetland, often beautifully integrated into a building's atrium or lobby. The process begins by separating wastewater streams. Gray water from sinks, showers, and laundry carries soaps and dirt. Black water from toilets contains pathogens and high nutrient loads. Both are valuable resources. They are channeled into a series of tanks and constructed wetland cells filled with specific plants, gravel, and sand. Here, a complex community of microorganisms living on the plant roots and in the substrate gets to work. These microbes are the engine of the system, breaking down organic waste, metabolizing pollutants, and neutralizing pathogens. The plants, like canna lilies and reeds, are not just for aesthetics. Their root systems create a massive surface area for the microbes to colonize and absorb the nutrients released during decomposition. As the water flows slowly from cell to cell, it becomes progressively cleaner. After passing through the living machine, the water is polished using sand filters and UV sterilization, emerging clear, clean, and safe for non-potable uses like toilet flushing, irrigation, or cooling tower makeup. Instead of relying on overburdened municipal sewers, the building intelligently manages its own water cycle, recycling this precious resource over and over again. It functions just as a pond or forest would, demonstrating that what we call waste is simply a resource in the wrong place. A truly integrated building doesn't just sit in its environment, it actively participates in it. It develops a kind of metabolism, processing resources in a closed loop, much like a living organism. In this model, the very concept of waste is redesigned. Instead of being a linear problem, something to be collected and hauled away, it becomes a valuable resource, a feedstock for the building's own systems. This shift is most tangible when we look at the organic streams a building produces, from food scraps in its kitchens to the very air its occupants breathe. Some buildings go further, moving beyond simple composting. They compost food waste on-site and use anaerobic digesters to convert organics into biogas. This isn't composting as we typically know it, which uses oxygen to break down matter. Anaerobic digestion is a different biological pathway. Inside a sealed, oxygen-free tank, a carefully managed consortium of microbes goes to work, systematically deconstructing complex organic materials. The primary output is a methane-rich biogas. That biogas is then captured, purified, and used for heating or electricity, often through an on-site combined heat and power unit. This creates a powerful, immediate return on what was once considered garbage. But the cycle doesn't end there. The process also yields a nutrient-dense liquid called digestate. This byproduct is a perfect, readily available fertilizer, which can be piped directly to the building's green roofs, atriums, and living walls. This completes a nutrient energy loop inspired directly by nature, turning a waste stream into two valuable resource streams. This same philosophy of biological processing extends to the air we breathe. In conventional buildings, air quality is a mechanical problem solved with filters and high-volume air exchanges, which are energy-intensive. Bio-integrated design, however, treats indoor air as a miniature ecosystem that can be balanced and purified. Air quality also moves beyond filters. Advanced phytoremediation systems, living walls, soil biofilters, and plant-based scrubbing systems are designed not for decoration, but for cleaning volatile organic compounds and reducing indoor CO2. The purification happens on two fronts. First, the plants themselves absorb pollutants like formaldehyde and benzene directly through tiny pores in their leaves. But the real powerhouse of these systems is hidden from view in the root zone. Here, a complex community of bacteria and fungi, known as the root microbiome, thrives. These microbes are incredibly effective at metabolizing airborne toxins that are delivered to the roots by the plant. Some even use specific microbes engineered to break down airborne toxins that are particularly stubborn or prevalent in a given environment. The result is a system that doesn't just trap pollutants in a filter that needs replacing, but actively destroys them, converting them into biomass and harmless byproducts. Data from instrumented walls shows significant reductions in VOC levels, often exceeding the performance of mechanical purifiers, while also managing humidity, reducing ambient noise, and providing a documented biophilic boost to occupant well-being. By integrating these living machines for waste, water, and air, the building ceases to be a passive shelter and becomes an active, regenerative partner in the urban ecosystem. All these elements together shift how a building functions. It becomes a power generator, not a power user. It treats waste instead of producing it. It manages its own water, closing the loop. It grows food and creates habitat. It filters air biologically. And with all of this, it also supports human health. The biophilic benefits are profound: reduced stress, better focus, higher productivity. The more buildings resemble ecosystems, the better they perform for the people inside them. But integrating living systems into buildings isn't simple. These aren't passive structures. They require care, they evolve, they breathe. That means design teams must work across biology, engineering, and architecture. A bio-integrated building is not a static object, it's a living organism. And like any organism, it requires care, attention, and a deep understanding of its internal processes. The transition from conventional construction to living architecture marks a profound shift in how we think about building management. We move from a world of inert materials and predictable, mechanical systems to one of dynamic, biological complexity. The operational realities are both a challenge and a frontier of innovation. Every component, from the glass of a photobioreactor to the substrate of a living wall, must be carefully selected not just for durability, but for its ability to support life. Materials must be non-toxic, resilient, and compatible with the specific microbial communities they will host. Consider the algae facade. It's not a simple green veneer. It's a complex ecosystem that must be precisely managed. The algae cultures require a consistent diet of light, carbon dioxide, and specific nutrients like nitrates and phosphates. Sophisticated sensor networks continuously monitor pH levels, temperature, and turbidity. If the algae grow too dense, they block light from reaching the inner layers, reducing efficiency. If nutrient levels drop, the culture can crash. Automated systems must therefore dose nutrients with precision, regulate CO2 injection, and control water circulation to ensure every cell gets its share of sunlight. The biomass itself must be periodically harvested, a process that involves separating the algae from the water, dewatering it, and transporting it for processing into biofuel, fertilizer, or other valuable products. Each step is a carefully choreographed dance between biology and engineering. The same level of diligence applies to the building's other living systems. The microbial cultures in constructed wetlands, which are essential for purifying gray water, need a stable environment to thrive. The balance between different species of bacteria and archaea is critical for breaking down pollutants effectively. Composting systems, which turn organic waste into valuable soil amendments, are not just passive bins. They are bioreactors that must be actively managed for temperature, moisture, and aeration. Proper ventilation is crucial to foster aerobic decomposition and prevent the production of methane, a potent greenhouse gas. If the mix is too wet, it becomes anaerobic and foul-smelling. If it's too dry, the decomposition process grinds to a halt. This is active, hands-on ecology. This complexity demands a new paradigm for building management, one that is a hybrid of ecology, data science, and traditional engineering. The facility teams of the future won't just be mechanics and electricians. They will include horticulturalists, microbiologists, and data analysts. The building's central nervous system is a sophisticated data platform, a digital dashboard that visualizes the health of its living components. These platforms track dozens of variables in real time: the photosynthetic rate of algae, the nutrient uptake of plants, the parts per million of pollutants in the water, the temperature of the compost pile, and the population dynamics of key microbial colonies. Increasingly, artificial intelligence is being woven into these control systems. AI algorithms can analyze vast data sets to identify subtle patterns that a human operator might miss, predicting potential issues before they arise. If a sensor detects a slight drop in oxygen in the wetland, the AI can anticipate a potential problem with the microbial community and adjust flow rates or aeration to correct it. It can learn the building's unique biological rhythms, optimizing energy use by predicting cloud cover to adjust lighting for the algae or stabilizing biological cycles to ensure consistent performance year-round. This proactive, predictive management is key to ensuring these systems are not just beautiful, but also reliable and resilient. We must also design for redundancy and seasonal variability. What happens during a prolonged cold snap or a heat wave? Systems need backup heating or cooling, and plant and algae species must be chosen for their tolerance to the local climate. Redundant pumps and filters ensure that a single point of failure doesn't cascade through the entire building's metabolism. Despite the technical progress, significant institutional barriers remain. The high initial cost of these sophisticated systems is a major hurdle, and the operational expenses for specialized staff and maintenance can be higher than for conventional buildings. However, these costs are often offset by long-term savings in energy, water, and waste management. The bigger challenge is often regulatory. Our building codes were written for an era of inert, disconnected structures. They are ill-equipped to handle buildings that process their own waste, grow their own food, and breathe. Bio-integrated systems are often so new they don't fit into any existing legal category, leading to lengthy and uncertain permitting processes. In many cities, forward-thinking projects are stalled by outdated health codes that prohibit the on-site reuse of black water, even if it's treated to potable standards, or by zoning laws that restrict growing food on building facades. For this architectural evolution to truly take root, our policies and economic models must evolve with it. Initial costs can be higher, but long-term benefits, resource independence, reduced utility bills, healthier occupants, add up fast. Forward-looking governments and developers are starting to invest. Globally, we're seeing real projects emerge. Buildings with algae facades in Germany that heat water using sunlight and biomass. Offices with integrated wetlands in the lobby, processing their own wastewater. apartment towers with edible vertical farms on their exteriors. Inside advanced research centers, microbial air filters are actively purifying indoor environments, breaking down harmful volatile organic compounds into harmless byproducts. In Singapore, researchers are testing bioconcrete, a living material that self-heals through bacterial action. In Europe, firms are exploring mycelium insulation, fungus-based materials that are biodegradable, regenerative, and perform better than foam. These innovations redefine what buildings can be. They shift architecture from something static to something adaptive and regenerative. And this vision isn't limited to single buildings. Entire neighborhoods could function like urban forests, recycling water locally, sharing energy, composting together, growing food year-round, cooling their own microclimates with dense greenery and transpiring walls. Imagine a city where every building is part of a larger metabolism, offices that power themselves with algae, schools that grow their own vegetables on walls, hospitals that purify air with bioactive green ceilings. A city that doesn't just survive climate pressure, but heals it. This is not a fantasy. These are technical systems available now. The real question is, will we scale them in time? To meet our global environmental goals, we need more than efficiency. We need buildings that give more than they take, structures that clean, recycle, produce, and regenerate. This is the promise of bio-integrated design, buildings as living allies, not environmental burdens. Architecture that isn't just inspired by nature, but becomes nature. So what inspires you most? Algae that generates heat? Buildings that treat their own wastewater? Or the idea of edible walls feeding entire communities? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Like and share this video if you're excited by buildings that live. Subscribe to Eco-Innovatech for more innovations on how nature and technology are reshaping our future. Thanks for watching.